Cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of
G'day and welcome back to the channel, Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginger Ninja and these are my movie reviews. If you're new to my channel, thank you very much for tuning in, stopping by and checking it out. We are up to the 5th film in the Resident Evil series, Retribution. This is almost at the end of this lot of franchise Friday. There will be a new one coming out soon, so keep an eye for that. Who knows what it'll be. Check out my community page. I'll probably put a poll up on there so you can vote for which franchise you want to see next. But let's get into this one. And look, before I do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. I do it every time I do a video because I truly am thankful. So I do want to say huge thank you to every single one of you. Thank you. Now, this film, Resident Evil Retribution, came out in 2012. There is a lot to unpack here, so get comfy. Directed again by paulwsanderson, the film stars millajovovich, siennaguillory, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Guillory, I think that's it, Michelle Rodriguez, boriskodjoe, bingbingli, odedferh, Salmon, shawnroberts, and Kevindurand, plus many, many more. And again, that is one of the issues with these films. They do have a lot of names in the cast and a lot of characters, which overall detracts from the film because there are so many different characters in them. You get invested in characters, but they just, Anyway, let's get into that later. So there will be spoilers ahead and I will be telling you about the plot and little bits and pieces in it, so you've been warned. Now, Alice fights alongside a resistance movement to regain her freedom from an Umbrella Corporation testing facility. Now, I think it was the horror cat dad, Larry. Go and check him out. I'll pop his link down in the description below. Great channel, great insights into movies and whatnot, so definitely recommend you check him out. Now, I think he said after Extinction, things go downhill. And look, he wasn't wrong. This film sees a sharp decline in the franchise, a very sharp decline. I enjoyed Afterlife. This here, not great at all. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with the cast, and I mentioned this before, character development is a significant drawback to this film because you've got so many characters. Now, Milla Jovovich reprises her role as Alice, the protagonist of the entire series, but her character in this one lacks depth and there's no evolution of her character. It does happen through the film, but it's very forced. Despite being this central figure, she comes across as more of an action stereotype than a well-rounded character that she had in previous installments. The supporting cast is what really gets me to this one because you've got returning characters like Jill Valentine, Michelle Rodriguez, who played Rain in the first film, boriskodjoe, who played Luther in Afterlife, odedferh, who played Carlos Olivier in Resident Evil Apocalypse and Resident Evil Extinction, Salmon, who played one in Resident Evil, the very first one, and even new characters like Ada Wong, played by bingbingli, and Leon Kennedy. He was actually portrayed by johannurb. Now, Leon Kennedy is a major character in the Resident Evil franchise, and these characters just suffer from underdevelopment. Like, they're not given enough, and there are too many of them, so you can't focus on any of them. This lack of emotional investment in these characters it diminishes any impact you have or you may feel towards any perilous situation or anything that they find themselves in, because you just really find it a challenge to care about them. They feel underutilized, is what I'm saying. There are very limited opportunities to showcase their personalities, and this goes double for Kevindurand, who played Barry Burton. I would have loved to see him in a more expansive role, because he's a very underrated actor and very underrated action star, in my opinion. Now, do you remember how I said to get comfy and get settled, because there's a lot to unload on this one? Well, we're on to the directing and the writing of this film now, and this film has a very heavy emphasis on action over substance, and it's evident throughout the entire film, and it does showcase Alice's combat skills and her resilience as she battles various creatures, including zombies, mutants, security forces. And while the action sequences are visually stunning and choreographed with precision, they become repetitive and fail to contribute meaningfully to the overall narrative. The relentless barrage of high-octane fights and shootouts leads to sensory overload that numbs the viewer rather than engaging them. This also leads to a major issue with the pacing. It's inconsistent. Due to abrupt shifts between intense action and slower exposition-heavy moments, which I'll touch on shortly, it's in these moments that the dialogue often feels forced and cliched. Characters delivering their lines, they come across as predictable and very uninspired. The lack of meaningful interaction and dialogue just further exacerbates the film's inability to establish a genuine connection between characters and the audience. The horror elements are present, but are overshadowed by this relentless action. This means they take a back seat to the constant onslaught of high energy sequences, slow motion fights, and the overuse of CGI, which I'll get into in the effects, of course. But that is a major thing in directing this film, because they do, I don't know if you'll see it here, they do use a lot of CGI and a lot of, I think this film was also in 3D as well, which, if you've watched any of my previous ones, you'll know I do have an issue with 3D. I don't think they're needed in these. You might see an image of the Axeman just throwing his axe again. It's very reminiscent to what was in Afterlife. It's pretty much scene for scene that. And that leads on to what this movie actually feels like. It actually feels like a greatest hits of the franchise. But I will say there was one standout in this, was the suburban setting, which felt like a Resident Evil style reimagining of Zack Snyder's 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. I really enjoyed that. That was a really nice way to open up that story. But the rest was a very confusing and overly convoluted mishmash of what felt like pieced together leftovers from previous films. The opening scene, which there are bits of it coming up here, you see a bit, like you even saw that, this part here with that character there, the zombie there, that was at the start of Resident Evil 4, I believe, like in Afterlife. The whole Tokyo scene was in Afterlife. They've just reused these scenes over and over. Look, there's Barry Burton there, underused. But look, the opening scene, they've filmed it, but then they've shot it in reverse and in slow motion, and then they show it at normal speed. And it just doesn't make sense. It looks cool and it looks stylish. It's just another rehashing of the previous films, followed by another few minutes of exposition by Alice about every movie leading up to this. Now, maybe that's because I've watched them one after the other now. So I'm watching them each week, one. Maybe that's why I don't feel the need for the heavy exposition. But yeah, it feels very, very contrived and forced. And now on to the effects. So, 2 words, CGI overload. Way too much. And look, I get it, it's cheaper and less risky than stunts and big explosions, but that doesn't mean it looks good. It makes the movie look cheaper. And the only decent zombies, in my opinion, are in the suburban setting and the Moscow Lost Plague mutants or zombies. But overall, they were actually physical. The rest of it, even the liquor looked really bad. The Axemen in this one didn't have the same effect as the Axemen in Resident Evil Afterlife. They looked just put in there and just poorly put in there. Like, the effects overall are really bad in this one, so I just could not get into it. Rewatchability. Look, with the film prioritising style over substance, this does result in a rather forgettable viewing experience. Due to the very little emotional resonance or narrative depth within the film, you get the feeling that you've seen it all before. I mentioned it's like a greatest hits, and that's what it feels like. You just feel like you've seen it before, and maybe that's because I am watching them week after week, but it just feels like it's on repeat. Will I rewatch this? Probably. I probably will, but only if I'm rewatching the franchise as a whole. I'm not going to go back and watch this as a standalone film like I would with Extinction or Afterlife. Hell, even the original Resident Evil film. I'd go back and rewatch that before I rewatch this by itself. So yeah, will I go back and watch this just by itself? Not a chance. Only as part of the franchise as a whole. Now we come to the final verdict. So, look, for those who appreciate the series for its intense action sequences and its stylized visuals, they're likely to find enjoyment in Retribution. However, for viewers seeking a more balanced blend of action and horror with somewhat better character development, which isn't a huge draw card for the film series, I know that, but let's face it, there's been more character development in previous films than there was in this. Yeah, if you're looking for that, you're going to be disappointed in this one. Overall, for a score, I would give Resident Evil Retribution a 4 out of 10. Wow, I think this has actually taken the cake as to what I found to be the low point of the series. Not great at all. So I always thought Apocalypse was probably my least favourite, but I think this has actually taken the cake. It's taken over. So there you have it. But anyway, what did you think of the film? Am I being too harsh on it? Am I Resident Evil'd out? We've got one left in the series. We've got the final chapter. I'll be checking that out next week. But do let me know what you thought of this film down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please do give this video a thumbs up. It'd be much appreciated and helps with that whole YouTube algorithm thing, of course. If you haven't, please do subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that way you're notified whenever I release a new review. Like I mentioned, I will be doing a new franchise. After I finish Resident Evil, I will put up a poll in my community page, so make sure to check out that. Vote for which one you want to see, because, or if you've got any suggestions of franchises you'd like to see me do, it could be anything from action, horror, you name it. If I have it, I'm likely to look into it. So there you have it. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life